welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be exploring the Raspberry Pi OS desktop running on the Raspberry Pi 5. We'll take a closer look at the desktop interface, check out the pre-installed apps, and I'll show you how to install new software. If you're new here, this video is part of a full series designed to help users of all experience levels get the most out of your Raspberry Pi 5. Don't worry if you haven't seen the early episodes, each one stands alone, so you can jump in right here. Of course, you can always go back and catch up later if you like. Now, I'm really excited to share a couple of updates. First, we've launched our YouTube memberships for just $2.99, which is $3 to $4 per month. You can support this channel and get access to some fantastic perks. So some of the perks included in our membership is supporting our channel directly, a supporters role and badge in our community Discord, access to a supporters only channel in Discord, members only polls where you can help shape the content that we create on this channel, early access to new videos before they're available to anyone else. Our Discord channel is free for everyone to use. If you guys are interested in that, there is a link in the description box below. It is in early stages, so please bear with me whilst we build this up. As always, you can find links to all the recommended hardware I'm using in this series in the description box below. For full disclosure, the links are affiliate links, which help support the channel and no extra cost to you. So a big thank you to all of you that use them. So if you're ready, let's dive in. So welcome to the Raspberry Pi desktop. We're going to start by discussing the taskbar, which on the Raspberry Pi OS is actually located at the top. Now, conventionally, if you come from Windows, you'll be used to this being at the bottom, but you'll be able to customize this taskbar any way you want, which I'll show you how to do in a minute. But first, we're going to discuss the different areas. Here you have the menu and you have the applications. These are pinned applications that you can pin to the taskbar for quick access. And then we have the a blank part of the taskbar here where any open applications will appear, their icon. So on the right hand side, we have the system tray icons. The first icon we have here is the Raspberry Pi Connect. This is a service supplied by Raspberry Pi themselves, the foundation. And I won't be going into detail about this today, but this is something I will feature on this channel in a future episode. So stay tuned for that. The next icon we have is the Bluetooth icon. This is to connect any peripherals like keyboard and mouse. So if you click on it, you can then click on turn on the Bluetooth. And then once the Bluetooth is activated, you'll see the icon, it has color to it now. And if you click on there, you can click on make it discoverable. So you can discover it with other peripherals, and you can click on add device. If you click on add device, it will search for any Bluetooth devices that are in the area and they will appear in this list. You can then add them and then you can interface using the Bluetooth device. The next thing, I'm going to turn it off for now because I'm not using any Bluetooth devices and there's no need to leave it on. So I'm going to save some power and some energy. Next thing I'm looking at here is the network icon. If you hover your mouse over the icon itself, you'll see your local IP address that you've got from your LAN. And this is useful to know if you want to connect to it remotely in any shape, in any way. You can see this quickly just by hovering your mouse over the icon. If you want to get to the network settings, you can click on the icon itself. You can set your country there, and you can also go into the advanced options where you can set up a VPN, and you can also edit your connection list in here. You can click on connection information, which will give you more information. It will give you your hardware address, your MAC address for your network interface. It'll also tell you your IP address, your broadcast address, your subnet mask, and your DNS, also what DNS you're connected to. It'll also give you your IP version 6 IP, and you can use that if you want. There's another section here for the local loopback address. You don't really need to know anything about that. It's really irrelevant at this point in time. The next thing you want to look at is the volume control. So if you hover your mouse over here, it will tell you what percentage that you are at on the volume control. So I'm at 33%. If you click on it, you can then put the volume up and down by holding down the button as always, and you can just move it up and down to what volume that you want. You can also mute it if you want no sound to come out, and you can do that instantly from there. The next icon here is the time. If you click on it, it will give you the date, and the time always stays in the taskbar for easy access. So an icon has just appeared showing you that there is updates to the Raspberry Pi. This is the icon with the blue arrow pointing downwards, and you can see if you hover over it, it says updates are available. And if you click on that, then you can install the updates. But I'm not going to do that right now. I will show you how to do that. But first of all, I'm going to show you how to customize your taskbar. To customize your taskbar, you need to go to the actual taskbar itself. You need to right click in an empty space, and you'll see some options. From here, you can add and remove plugins. So these are like widgets. So you can add certain like GPU and CPU temperatures and it can monitor that for you, CPU, GPU usage, things like that. So I'm going to show you how you can add them. And if you click on add and remove plugins, now as you can see on the left side, it's showing you which area of the taskbar that you can customize. So what I'm going to do is it shows you here on the right hand side what is available. These are widgets, or as they call plugins. I like to think them as widgets because that's kind of how, you know, most operating systems think of, but they are plugins, but they do behave in a widget sort of way. So I do like the term widget. If you want to add these things to the taskbar, you can just select which ones you want. Say I wanted the CPU monitor, I wanted the temperature. So I'm going to pick add to the right. So I want it in the system tray. And I click add to the right. Now when you add it to the right, see it's at the end, it will appear at the end of the taskbar. Okay, that's what will happen. It will come after the clock. So I'm going to add the CPU. I'm going to add the CPU temperature. I'm going to add the GPU. So this is just the usage, and that will do. And then I'm going to click OK. And as you can see now, these have now appeared in the far right hand corner. We have the CPU monitor, which is at 0%. We have the temperature, which is 47 degrees. And we also have the GPU percentage of usage. So these are the usage percentages, and this is the temperature monitor. I'm going to leave them on so you can see how it performs as we use the Raspberry Pi. I think it's quite interesting to see that, so I'm going to leave it on. So if you right click again and we go down to notifications, you can turn the notifications on and off from here. I would leave them on because if any applications are trying to send you any notifications, you will want to see them. You want to be aware of what's going on your operating system. And then finally, we have the taskbar preferences. If you click on that, this is where you can change the look and feel of the taskbar. So if you come from Windows, you might be used to the taskbar being at the bottom of your screen. You can change the position from in here. You can click bottom, and there you are. You have a more Windows looking system. If you click on the menu, it will then open upwards. Whereas if it's at the top, the menu will drop down, which is quite nice and very useful. And also we have the size in here. I've obviously selected very large. I changed this so you guys can see the menu more clearly. It comes default set large, and if you want to make it even smaller, you can do, but I think the large is going to work for what I need to use it for at the moment. You can change the background color to whatever color you want, and you can change the text colors. There is some other options in here to do with the desktop and other system defaults. These are other settings for other areas. I'm going to leave them for now as we are just discussing the taskbar. So the first menu icon we have here is a Raspberry Pi icon. This is the default menu, and it has all the programs that you've installed on your Raspberry Pi. As soon as you install a new application, these are giving a category by default, and they will start appearing in these drop-down menus. This is so that you can easily find them, and I think that's quite a nice feature. The next side here is just to the right of it is the pinned applications. These are 3 pinned applications that they thought that you might want quick access to. Again, if you open up any application that you want to access quickly, you can pin it to the taskbar just like you can in Windows, and it will be there for quick reference. We have the browser icon here. This default web browser on Raspberry Pi OS is Chromium. You can set that to Mozilla Firefox if you choose to in the settings, but by default it's Chromium. Then we have the file manager, and then we also have the terminal icon, which you can use to quickly open up a terminal. So we're going to click on the menu icon here, and we're going to run through the pre-installed applications on Raspberry Pi OS. The first section is programming. There's 2 applications in here. One's called Genie Programmers Editor and Thorny. We are going to be covering both of these applications in future episodes when we go through programming and we start using electronics and interfacing with the Raspberry Pi's GPIO pins. If you guys are interested in programming or electronics, then please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell, because you will be wanting to tune into our future episodes. Running down the list, we are going to Internet. In Internet, we have the Chromium browser and the Firefox browser. Again, as soon as you install a new application, let's say you want to install the Brave browser, it would appear on this list. The next is sound and video. This is the default player, is the VLC media player, which is an incredible application. The codec support is just phenomenal. It works on everything. I have it on all my devices because it's just flawless, and it supports all It's a one and all encompassing application that I would definitely recommend if you ever have any video playback issues. Graphics, we have an image viewer. Accessories, so we have an archiver, so if you want to compress any files or decompress any files, you can from there. You can also have the calculator, self-explanatory, document viewer, PDF files, things like that. You have a file manager, and obviously from here you can move files around, and it's all on the GUI, so you can see what you're doing. Obviously just self-explanatory again. Next up we have the Raspberry Pi diagnostics. Now this is to test your SD card speeds. So if you buy an SD card from Amazon or wherever, and you want to test to make sure that it's fast enough and it's going to have good performance on the Raspberry Pi, you can run a performance test in here, just by clicking run test. Obviously I'm using a NVMe drive, so it's not showing me up the SD card, so I can't test anything. Accessories, SD card, we've got the Raspberry Pi Imager. So in the previous episode I've shown you how to use Raspberry Pi Imager. We had an SD card with Raspberry Pi OS installed on it. We came onto the desktop from here, and we then installed a clean installation of Raspberry Pi OS onto the NVMe drive that we had installed, so that we could then boot from the NVMe drive. If you guys are interested in doing that, please see the link below. There is an episode in there that you can watch and follow along with the tutorial. The next option is the SD card copier. Now from the Raspberry Pi Imager would install a new clean operating system version on a new install. So for instance, from the SD card to the NVMe drive, it will do a clean install of Raspberry Pi OS. Now with the SD card copier, if you've been using your Raspberry Pi for a while and you've set up your operating system on the SD card and you've got it all set up the way you want it to be, if you wanted to take all them settings and the exact installation and then clone it to the NVMe drive, you can do that using the SD card copier. Again, you can do it from within this interface, and you can clone across to the NVMe drive, change the boot priority and boot into the NVMe drive. So that's quite helpful to have that pre-installed on here too. So next up we have the task manager. And if we click on that, you'll see an overview of our whole system and how it's performing. You'll see the few widgets that we have at the top here. We have the CPU widget and the GPU widget, which is the same as the two that we get in the taskbar here. And we also have the memory here. The memory will show the memory that's being used plus the cache. So if any applications are basically storing information in cache in the memory, which applications do, what happens is when it gets full, it will then keep rewriting on top of it with the new information, rewriting over the old information. Memory is volatile, so it doesn't stay after a reboot. And so if you to show a true representation of what memory is actually being used by applications, sometimes it's easier to turn that off. And you can do that within the view section. I'll show you in a second. So first up, the commands that we've got here, the commands that are running in the applications. So if you are running a rsync command, for instance, it will show up in here. Commands are running as applications, as programs, and they also have a PID, which you can see if we scroll further this way. And the process ID will help you identify the application. Each application has a unique PID. So if you click on here, you can highlight it and right click it, and from here you can kill and terminate, and you can also prioritize the application. So if you're developing a certain application where you wanted it to have a higher allocation of resource, or of like more CPU over other applications, you can set the preference in there. You can customize what shows up in the task manager. You can click on more details here, and that will show some more details for you, or you can click on view and you can customize what's being seen through here. So right now I'm seeing the user that I'm using. So I'm seeing the users. I'm seeing addicted to tech, which is the only user I have on here. And you can also choose to see the root tasks by clicking on here, which will show you the root processes that are running. And also from the view menu, we can show the full command, so it shows the full command that's running. So if you had a long command, like an rsync command or something that you were working on, and you wanted to make sure that that command was running properly, you can see the full command from there. So again, like I was talking about the memory and the volatility of memory, you can choose to not show the cache, and as you can see that then goes down. So that gives you a true representation of how much your installed applications are using. As I said, you know, applications will only use so much of RAM, and then it will start rewriting over the top of that as and when it fills. I mean, some applications even use excessive amounts of RAM, because using more RAM is actually better. The more RAM that's being used is actually better on the system than using the less amount of RAM, because it's there to be used. You may as well use it. But in this position, you can get rid of the cache, so you can see a true representation of the process and how that's running. Hope you guys understand what I mean by that. So from here, again, you can click on preferences from here, and you can change how the refresh rate. So this is how often it updates. So if you're wanting to see it more updated, you can drop it down to 1. So every 1 second, it's going to update them figures, or you can set it at 2. I'm going to leave it at 1. And you can click on help, and it will tell you the version of the task manager that's being used. It'll also tell you a link to the website, some credit information and the license, and you can check all that out. So down here you can click on quit, and then we're going to move down the line with the next thing, which is the terminal. And by default, Raspberry Pi OS uses the LX terminal. You can fully customize the terminal through the edit section and the preferences. You can change the color scheme, the font, everything within that. I'm not going to go into detail with that now. You can do that at a later date. And obviously from here as well, in the edit menu, you can see that to zoom in, for instance, it then gives you the keyboard shortcuts that you can use to use the functions. Next is the text editor. Again, that's self-explanatory. If you want to edit text quickly, there is a text editor pre-installed and you can use it. Next up, we have the help section, which has documentation in there to help you learn more about the Raspberry Pi. There is also a Debian reference here, which is good. It gives you reference to the underlying distro that the Raspberry Pi OS is built upon. Next up is the bookshelf. Now, this is a hidden gem. It's full of free books and magazines, full of resources to help you learn more about your Raspberry Pi 5. I mean, how good is this? The fact that they give you this for free is brilliant. These are back issues. I don't think it gives you the most recent issue of any magazine. Obviously, they want you to pay for their subscription, and it's well worth it. It's well worth reading these magazines because you can get some really good ideas for projects, and you can learn some great content. And you should help support these things to keep them going. There's 3 sections. There's the Magpie, there's books, and then there's Hackspace. So if you wanted to download a book, for instance, I wanted to download one on MicroPython. There's a book just here. You double click it and it opens it, and then you can read the book. You can read the book or the magazine. It's just great. And when you finish with it, you cross it off, you right click on the book and you click delete item, and then it's gone. So it's a really good resource, free resource to get information that will help you learn about the Raspberry Pi, which is fantastic. So next up, we have the preference menu, and we have the add and remove software. So this is like the control panel on Windows. You can update software from within here, and you can remove it too. So if you go to here, for instance, internet, you'll see all different internet applications that you can install. And the ones that have a tick on it are the ones that are installed on your system. So you can see Chromium here, and you can uninstall it from here by clicking on it. And you can untick it, and then you can click apply if you want to remove the Chromium. And obviously there's a few resources in here, different packages. I wouldn't recommend doing that this way because it can get quite messy. There is easier ways to uninstall applications than using this menu. So also within add and remove software, you can click on options and you can check for updates. This will give you a list of all the updates that are available for your system. And once it's finished scanning, you can click, it says here that a restart will be required, which you can do, and you can click install updates, and then it will install 127 updates that are available. And that's that. Also in the options, we have package sources, so you can change your distribution lists. I wouldn't mess with any of that if you're just basic using the Raspberry Pi OS, unless you need to add a specific package source for a specific application that you're using, then you don't really want to mess with that. But if you click on it, it does give you all the lists of the application repositories that it will use, and you can remove them and add them from there, which is quite helpful. So PPAs and things like that. So I'm not going to install any updates from this menu. We'll do that in a minute. I'll show you how to do that from the taskbar. Next up, we have the appearance settings. So this basically takes us back to the same menu as we had before from the taskbar. You can reach this in several different ways. So you can do it the way I've just shown you through the menu. You can right click on the desktop and you can click desktop preferences. take you to the same place. And also from the taskbar, you can right click taskbar preferences, and then you can access the desktop from there too. So within the desktop menu on the appearance settings, you can change the whole look and feel of the desktop. You can fill the screen with an image, so you can have a single image that fills the whole screen. You can change the desktop background. You can change the color and the text, and you can also change the desktop folder to whatever you want. You can add documents icon to the desktop. You can add external disks to the desktop if you want them to appear. You can also remove the wastebasket if you don't want to see that, and you don't want it, you just wanted a clean empty desktop, you can do. I like the wastebasket being there, which is the trash can, and you can right click that and empty it so you can save storage space on your device. So I'm going to change the wallpaper to something else. So let's change it to, what about Canyon? That might be quite nice. I'm just clicking apply down here. You can't see it's just behind me, and there you are. We've got a nice picture of a canyon. I quite like that. That's nice. Within this menu here, you can also edit your taskbar again. You can edit the system settings, so you can change the system-wide fonts, system-wide colors and text. You can change the mouse cursor to something larger, which I'm going to do for a larger. I prefer a larger mouse. You can change the theme from light to dark. I also like dark mode. That's quite nice. So I'm going to change to dark mode, and you can see my mouse has got bigger. From here, you can go to defaults, and you can change the default settings for the different screens. I like it the way it is, and I'm going to click OK. So as you can see now, we have the dark theme applied to our menu. We're going to go back to preferences, and now we're going to look at the main menu editor. So within here, you can decide which applications you want to appear on your menu. So if you wanted to disable certain categories that you didn't want to appear on there, you can do so. Just like so. I can remove programming from here. And if I click here now, you can see programming has now disappeared. You can also rearrange them from here. You can move them down. So if I wanted my internet to come first, I can move it up to the top. And then when I click on my menu icon, it will now appear at the top. When I'm using my Raspberry Pi, I like to browse the internet. That's my most commonly used applications. And you can set these to the priority and to the preference that you want to set. You can set up separators to neat things out, to make them look nicer. And you can delete certain things, and you can change the properties. If I click properties here, you can change the name from internet. You might want to put browsers, which you can do. And you can customize it from there. Going back into the menu again, we have got mouse and keyboard settings. So from here you can change the motion of the mouse, the speed of the mouse, the delay of the double click, how fast you want to be. You can change to left-handed if you are left-handed, so you can change the accessibility. You can change this to left-handed on here, which is great. The keyboard, again, it's the same with that. You can repeat delays between the characters repeating on when you're typing, so you get some good customization around that if you wanted to. There's also the keyboard layout, so you can change the language. Mine's set to UK because I'm in the UK, so that's what mine is set to. So wherever you are in the world, you might want to change the language. This will change what the position of the keys on your keyboard, which is helpful. So that's that. Go back to the menu again. We now have the printer settings. So if you guys wanted to use a printer, you could. And you can add your printer from here. You'll need to get the drivers for that printer. And I'm not going to go into detail about the printer from here. Obviously, if I want to cover printers, I'll do that in its own video later on, as it's more in depth. Go back to preferences, and we have the Raspberry Pi configuration. So from in here, you can change the password, your host name. You can change to boot to the to desktop or CLI. So basically, if you decided to install the full graphical interface, and then at a later date, which we will be doing in our Raspberry Pi series, we will be downgrading away from the desktop back to the command line, so we can have a headless version, so we can run the service. You can downgrade from here, so you just boot into the command line rather than the desktop, and obviously you can remove the packages from there and clean it up, which we'll be doing in a later episode, so stay tuned for that. You can auto log in, so if you just have the one user on the Raspberry Pi, you can go straight into the desktop, which it does by default anyway. And you can disable the splash screen if you didn't want to see the splash screen. And this is where you can change the default browser. So mine's set to Chromium. I actually prefer Mozilla Firefox, so I'm going to set mine to Firefox. Next, you can see display. You can change the screen blanking settings and on-screen keyboards. So next up, we have interfaces. This is where you can enable or disable services. We have a few here. I'm just going to mention a few, which is SSH and VNC. Obviously, SSH is secure shell, which means that you can connect to your Raspberry Pi via a remote terminal, and you can have a terminal session remotely, which is great. And it's secure as well. It's for an encrypted tunnel. I'll be showing you how to do that in future episodes, how to connect to that. And also we have VNC, which is a remote session that is actually a graphical user interface remote session. So you can actually remotely connect to your Raspberry Pi, but have the graphical user interface on another device, which is just fantastic. Next tab is performance. You can overlay file system, and you can disable USB current limit. These are just, if you need to use these or changes, you can do. So you can write protect the boot partition. This will just stop you from deleting or overwriting any files in the boot partition. I wouldn't recommend sticking this on, because if you do any updates to the kernel, things like that, it won't write to it. You'll have permission errors. So you just want to leave that off, to be honest. The only reason you'd put that on is if you wanted to protect the boot partition. Say if you were letting a child use this device, etc., you might want to come in and enable that. Next up, we have localization. Again, this is just down to your preference of where you are. You can set your time locale, you can set your time zone, your keyboard layout, and the country that you're in. Mine's in Europe, London, as you can see, and it's self-explanatory, really. We're going to click OK from there. Okay, so next up we have the recommended software. So this is just like a app store that will recommend any software that you might want to use on your Raspberry Pi. You can come from here and you look at the different browsers that are available. You can install Raspberry Pi Connect. You can also uninstall by unticking it and clicking apply. That will remove it. And yeah, it's just another place to find software that's widely used and you might be interested. For instance, LibreOffice. You can click on the button here and you can click apply and install that application. Okay, so the installation is now complete. You press OK. It will refresh your packages again. And you can see now it has a tick on it. So now if we go to our menu, we now have a new section called Office, and you can see that it now has the different Office applications installed in there ready for us to use. Now again, I haven't done any updates on this, so that package may need an update now. Before you install any new application, you should always make sure that your operating system is fully up to date. The reason why you need to update first before you install anything is to make sure that you've got all the newest versions from the repositories and you get the new updates brought down to you. So you need to really refresh them repositories before you use them. So yeah, this is just correlated to a list of applications that are in the Raspberry Pi OS repositories that you can download. And again, these are just stable versions. They're not going to be the latest versions. If you want to get the latest versions of different applications, you need to download them and their respective add their PPAs for their repositories, so you can download them direct from the developer and you can get the latest versions. But again, you might have instability issues. The reason why they use older versions in these repositories is to make sure that your operating system is stable, and that's really what they're trying to achieve. It's a stable environment for you to develop in. So it's up to you if you want to use external PPAs and add applications directly from the manufacturers. But again, you're introducing, the possibility of more problems. So that's the trade-off basically. If you want to download any other applications from in here, you can do. They're recommended. You've got Scratch in here as well, which is pretty cool. There's a few other programming languages there. There's Visual Studio Code, again great for programming. I'll install these as and when I need them. I'm not going to do it now. I'm just showing the desktop right now and customizing it to our needs. Now, if we go down again to preferences, we go to screen configuration. So in here, you can change, if you've got multiple screens attached to your Raspberry Pi, you can change it. You can change the resolution in here. So if you had a bigger display, you can go right up to whatever your display has available for it to use. You can change the refresh rate here, the frequency. Again, I'm on a 60 Hz monitor, so I'll just use that. You can also change the orientation. If you have one of the longer monitors, you can change that from in here as well. And you can allocate, you know, default, which one you want to be the default, etc. from within this menu. So yeah, it's just for screen, it's great. So that's the end of that menu section. That's the end of preferences. Here you have a run command, so you can basically run commands directly from here. If you don't want to open up a terminal, you can just execute a command straight away from the run. Exactly the same as in Windows, they have the same function. From here you can shut down. You are given 3 options: to shut down, to reboot, and log out. Again, self-explanatory. Shut down turns it off, reboot brings it back again after, it does a clean cycle, and log out means you log out of your current user and you can log in with a different user. So what we're going to do quickly now before we head off is we're going to do the updates. I'm going to click on the icon here, which tells us that updates are available. Click to install, so we're going to click on that. You can click on show updates, or you can install the updates directly from the taskbar. I'm going to go to show updates, and it'll show all the updates from in here, and it's just all the available updates for our Raspberry Pi. Very simple. You just click install to update the packages. This may take a little while for it to update, but then once it's finished, you're going to have all the latest repository refreshed versions of all the applications that are available, and you're also going to have all the latest security patches from Raspberry Pi Foundation to make sure that your operating system is secure. So as you can see, the updates are installing, and you can see up here my CPU is at 50%, temperature is at 54, 53, and my GPU is at 2 to 5, so it's not really being used much. But you can see how much CPU the Raspberry Pi 5 takes to update stuff. It's peaking at about 75 there, even 80 now. But now it's completed and it's finished. You should see this go back down to a few percent now. Again, it all depends on the refresh rate that it's using. So then you can see it's 25, and then you can see the spike in the chart there. You can see it at the back. It has a graph, and it's showing you the spike in the graph as the CPU usage went up and down, as well as the temperature and changing. It gives you a nice little graph in the background, which I think is a nice touch. But anyway, the system is now up to date. That's now finished updating. So if you want to update your Raspberry Pi via the terminal, you can use the command sudo apt update, and then you press enter. This will grab all the newest versions from all the repositories that are available. As you can see, because we've just done the update, there's nothing to update from here now. So if there was any updates for the applications, now you could use this command to install them: sudo apt upgrade, and you can pass it the Y flag, which means that you don't have to interact with it at all. It will just automatically say yes. You press enter at the end, and that will install any applications if there was any. Now you may see here that it says the following package was automatically installed and is no longer required. Now sometimes if you have a kernel update and things like that, these packages will be left there in case you ever want to roll back to them. So if there's any problems that you have and you think, right, well, I did that update, I've now got these issues, you can revert that update. So but sometimes obviously when you've got kernel updates, things like that, sometimes it leaves the kernel there for you if you want to roll back to that kernel. To remove them, you can use the command sudo apt auto remove, and if you press enter, this will remove that package that's no longer needed. You could have passed the Y flag there. If you did, it wouldn't have asked you, do you want to continue? That's why you passed that Y flag, so you don't have to interact with it. If you press enter now, it's going to remove that package that's unneeded. And if we do the upgrade again, you'll see that it no longer tells us that we can use the auto remove. So that's how you can clear out any obsolete packages that aren't needed, and you can clear up any kernels that are taking up space on your boot drive. So sometimes your boot drive can fill up, and then it might say, oh, we can't install the new kernel, and you keep getting an error coming up when you're trying to update your Raspberry Pi. It's just because your boot partition is full of different kernels. You just need to use the auto remove. It will clear them out, and then you can save some space on your Raspberry Pi, and you can start using it to download things and update future kernels. So the only thing I want to run through quickly here now is the network tab here, and there's a few options in here. You can turn on the wireless on the device itself. It should show you the Wi-Fi connections that are all around you. so you can connect to them if you choose to. If you go down to advanced options, you can then connect to a hidden wireless if you haven't got the SSID showing for security reasons. You can create a wireless hotspot, so you can actually turn your Raspberry Pi into a hotspot that other devices connect to, which is helpful if you're trying to create some router or modem. You can show the connection information, and you can edit the connections themselves. So this is showing my Ethernet connection, and it says wire connection 1. Down here you can add another connection if you had another Ethernet port or a USB Ethernet attached, so you can configure it from here. You can click on the settings here, and in here you can change the settings for your connection. You can change the DNS, you can add the IP, change the IP address, do all the usual stuff that you can do from a network manager. I'm not going to go into details here now because we're just having a basic overview. So you can do all that from within here. You can control the IP addresses and the IP6. You can disable, if you didn't use IP version 6, you can disable it as well, which I don't use it yet. And then when you finish with your settings, you click save, and it'll take you back there again. You can also rename the connection. So if you had several connections attached to your Raspberry Pi, you can know which one that you're dealing with and the IP address for that network. So yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything. That's it for today's episode. All the resources for today's episode can be found on our website at addictedtotech.net. You can also find links in the description box below for all my recommended products from the series. For full disclosure, they are affiliate links, and using these links helps support the channel and no extra cost to you, and I only recommend products that I personally trust and use. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're notified of future uploads. I'd like to know your thoughts. What do you think of Raspberry Pi OS? Let me know in the comments below, and feel free to suggest topics that you'd like me to cover in future episodes. All this leaves for me to say now is, I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.